What is happening, everybody? It is Tuesday, May 14th, and today in the morning we were able to get out a little earlier and go to Limon on another cross country, and it was smooth. Oh my gosh, the air was butter. You just didn't move. You can tell when you look at my track log. I had that sucker trimmed up good. I don't think I changed more than 2 or 3 feet for the 54 mile. All right, it moved a little bit, but had a great flight over there. We were gonna do some touch and goes. Fortunately, there was no other traffic in the vicinity when we got there, as this was an untowered airport that I mentioned before out in eastern Colorado. So the goal to that day or today was to do as much of the radio work. Untowered radio work's a little different because nobody talks back, especially if there's nobody in the pattern or there. And it was a little different because the runway is about half as long and about a third as wide. So I believe it's only about 60 feet wide. And when yours truly is trying to get down and have some good landings, and there's a little bit of crosswind. I understand that after 500 hours, people still have bad landings, but I will tell you after, what am I at, 34 hours, 35 hours, we do too. But it was good overall, and made it back to town, to Centennial, to town, in a good amount of time. We were doing like 120 miles an hour. That's better, especially when there's no roads. And so then we grabbed a little lunch and eventually tried to get back out in the afternoon. Well, we got in the longest congo line, they're called, waiting in the taxiway to line up and get out. I think it was like 35 minutes. Now, let me tell you a little something about how renting planes works. Once that propeller starts, you're paying, in this case, $137 an hour. Plus my fine friend, Bonnie, who deserves it. So that part's okay. And so while I still have to accumulate hours, those really aren't the hours that you want to accumulate. Well, we finally got up in the air. And as I'm turning my first turn, called the crosswind turn, my first left over to the west, tower says, "Hey, Cessna 64332, your ADS-B is not showing up." Now, I don't understand all the initials in the world, but I will tell you that there are more acronyms in aviation than anything else I've ever seen. Apparently the ADS-B is what allows those around you and the tower to locate you and tells you things like, ground speed and altitude and your tail number. And I'm imagining, very helpful. It's one of those tools where I'm like, how did they do it before? I don't know, doesn't matter. But in reality, you're not supposed to fly under the 30-mile mode C veil. You know that a month ago I didn't know anything. I'm coming along without it. So we did one lap and landed and called it a day. Wah, wah. I still got an hour on the logbook for about a 6-minute flight. I don't make the rules. But at any rate, that was kind of frustrating, and it just kind of reminded me, you got to just roll with the punches. Well, I want to just give you a funny story. About 4 or 5 days into this adventure, Bonnie was telling me, she's like, as you get better at this stuff, I have to start getting more picky. So typically you have your left hand on the yoke, and your right hand is supposed to be on the throttle, so that if you need to make adjustments, you're there. It's kind of like having your foot on the gas when you're driving, right? So, so I'm doing this, and I'm like, well, I'm not disappointing Bonnie, not today. You know what I mean? So for weeks, I've been doing pretty good. It's one of those things, like if your hands are used, you want to itch your face. I don't know. I didn't make the rules there either. But we went all the way to Limon and all the way back, and then we're sitting there after lunch, and I go, Bonnie, I got a question about this. Always have your hands on the throttle thing. She's like, yeah. I go, yeah. Do you have to do that on a cross-country flight? And she goes, you had your hand on the throttle the entire time. Yeah, for like 90 minutes. I had the most intense upper shoulder pain because I didn't want to disappoint Bonnie, even though we were straight and level like I've never been straight and level before ever. So what's the moral of that story? Ask your instructor questions before your arm falls off. So that's where we're at here on Tuesday. Tomorrow we're looking forward to I got a 3-hour block in the morning and a 3-hour block in the afternoon. And I'm gonna take a stab that we're not gonna end up with 6 hours, but I don't know why. I bet there's gonna be a reason, because if there's one thing I've learned already, it's expect the unexpected and just roll with it and realize that you still have an opportunity to fly. I love it. Okay, subscribe, watch another video, send a comment, make a question, ask a question even, and we'll be back here real soon. Bye.